the most beautiful things for me have been when I've been more empathetic to that child across the world being afflicted by bullshit.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
That's what's enlightens me or brings, you know, me to actually feel like something has changed.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
I know lots of people really like to see that happen on the outside. But really what feels more beautiful, if you actually feel into it, of course, is when we actually, you know, make those little changes about how we interact with the world.
Yeah, it's very much about that, isn't it? Really starting from just yourself and really just changing that world, and everything else does spring out
good.
from there.
It's real.
It's
then
real,
it's actually
authentic.
real.
Yeah. And I find the authenticism part of it, when you really I shouldn't say look at yourself, when you really be with yourself and understand yourself and understand why you do the things you do and what's created your actions and perspective on life, that leads to an authenticism. You're not like trying to kid yourself or delude yourself. And then that authenticism is what you attract in your life, both with, you know, people, but it also might be your vocation, your school education, your leisure activities. They've become much more aligned with who you are. And so, yeah, I think what you said earlier about like how when you were living in Sydney, you were like trying to control it as in response to what you saw as the most effective way to be as a human being, which isn't your most effective way to be as a human being. And that really can take a toll. And I think that's where still a lot of people are at, where they're just, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
People,
yeah, billions of people.
It's because of we're all just following our authorities and the guidance. We all need guidance. You know, we're all, since we were kids, we were looking for guidance.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And I had the guidance, you know, I had the guidance from my parents, not so much because I didn't want to listen to them, you know, but of course from society, because for some reason that's what I was attracted to as a role model. So those were, you know, I just kept listening to what I thought was right. And then I saw the power of this new type of guidance. And that's what I think is, you know, many people say, oh, you're on the spiritual path your whole life. You know, everything is part of the spiritual path. For me, there was a distinct shift towards the spiritual path when I found this whole other way of being. Because yes, we're always on a path. But when it becomes a spiritual path, in my perspective, is when you start to be guided in a very obviously different way, in a spiritual way.
Yeah.
And of course, my understanding of spirit is this present moment, or of the kind of oneness principle of nothing to do with any of this.
Yeah.
Right? The transcendent part. So if we start that to become our path, it's a very different path from anything that our ego was ever taught.
Definitely.
Because we first had to learn how to be human.
Yeah.
And if in this life we next want to learn something else, then that's our choice, and we can start to go onto the spiritual path.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Yeah, I really feel very different. Yeah. And that to me, that big difference is like in that old system or old setup, the rewards are material. So you do well, it's successful, then you've got the nice car, the nice house, the big screen TV, all the stereotypes I can label. Yeah. But the reward, for lack of a better word, when it's more of the spiritual path, what you are able to manifest it's of materialism, it's synchronicities and it's experiences, dharma, things that you just thought like you really do not have any control over. And that's such a much more content, peaceful way to live. It really is. And all the other stuff just doesn't matter anymore. Yeah. There's stuff about worrying about this or worrying about that. It just doesn't matter anymore. Yeah. And it's not just so much all those stereotypes that the first path is about. Of course, you are working towards the, you know, car and everything. But, you know, that's probably a very small percent of humans if you actually think about how many humans are on the planet. Very true.
The ones that the path that they're actually working towards is surviving the next day.
Good point. Over.
Am I going to have enough food or whatever, you know? Or to just make it, you know? Exactly like you said, it's a totally material path where you're just trying to live and exist as a human being without dying.
Sure.
And of course, then the opposite path would be about how to exist in a totally different way as just pure existence and trust that the body will survive because this is its You know, this is its purpose. This life is to serve you in this way.
Yeah, that's
It's a
what it's
totally
meant to be.
different thing.
Yeah.